It's mid-morning stroke afternoon, eh? Yeah.
Driving through the rain, it's some way.
Yeah.
It's been
Crazy.
raining. It's been raining all. I
Yeah.
didn't know it rains like this in
Yeah.
September, October.
Climate change issues, eh?
I tell you. Global warming.
Yeah. Good to see you. Yeah, lots of interesting things to talk about today. But would first of all start with the conversation between Muftar Nabila Abdullahi and FIFA high performance trainer Faisal Chipsa, who's been talking about some very key elements of the development of our game that we should have, if we want to be competing at the level of Brazil and the like. I read a few comments from you ahead of the game, but any surprises about the way, about our output, let me put it that way, for the two games that we played?
Yeah, I wasn't too surprised against Brazil. I mean, knowing very well the strength of the Brazilian team and also knowing the kind of quality they have. Even, like we say, player for player, I mean, they are way ahead of us. So I wasn't too surprised with the result, or let's say the outcome. What surprised me, however, was the, should I say, the selection for the game. I thought that we were going to start with what you would call our best. Okay. What I saw wasn't our best.
So like the skeleton final 11 or something like that.
Exactly, something like that.
Okay.
Because here was a Ghana team coming up against a potential World Cup winner. So I was thinking that we would have paraded what we would say is our best ever, or our best squad for the competition. I didn't see that. The score, I mean, the goals, everything, nothing surprising about them. My other take would be what the coach said after the game, that some mistakes were made. I mean, he made mistakes, and that he was going to correct those mistakes. So going against Nicaragua, I thought that it would be an improved game, or much different from what I saw of the Brazilian game. Unfortunately, I've said that if those mistakes were corrected, then the conclusion I have is that we don't have a team really capable of meeting the expectation of Ghanaians. And I have said that I would prefer to be pleasantly surprised in Qatar than to hold any high expectation, and then we go into Qatar and those expectations will be crushed.
So, during the week, I put up a post on my social media, especially on my Facebook page, and I asked, what if Ghana had won the game against Brazil? And I had some very, very interesting comments.
Yeah, I know.
Michael Otchere was like, Charlie, why?
I know. So I mean, I think we could have done far better than we did against Nicaragua. The play for me wasn't exciting. A lot of disjointed play, and for a team that is how many weeks, 8 or so weeks away from first World Cup game or thereabout, I thought that we could have done better. And then one key part of the Nicaragua game, the Efrie Barnier introduction. As someone who, I mean, follows the local game very well, I mean, I like our Premier League. I was thinking that Nicaragua wasn't that opponent. Efrie couldn't have had, let's say, some 5 or 10 minutes. The period he was introduced to the game tells me that, yes, we will call the local boys, but they will never have the chance. If at all they will be given the chance, the time they will be allowed to play wouldn't be anything significant to really judge them. And I thought that was also a disappointment. I was thinking Otto Addo or the coaches would have given him some 10, 15 minutes. And indeed, the game wasn't any game from how we were playing. It wasn't any game he couldn't have really featured longer than the period he was brought in. So this will be my assessment of the two matches. And I mean, I've already said it. I will repeat that now I have very low expectations. I would love to be pleasantly surprised at the World Cup than to hold or have any expectations, high expectations now, and we go into Qatar and those expectations will be crushed. I hope not.
Okay, we hope not. We hope not. Jerome Otchere is a senior editor and also a columnist and is a football pundit as well. He's joined me here in studio, and you can also join the conversations. Do remember, it's 055-1111-997. 055-1111-997. Let's get back to the conversation about the Singapore Grand Prix, and Kwabena Poku has rejoined on the channel. Oh, Kwabena, good to have you finally. How are you? Kwabena, can you hear me? Okay, so seems like we're still having some difficulties. So we're going to bring you this full conversation between Faisal Chipsa, who is a FIFA high performance trainer, and Joy Sports Muftau Nabila Abdullahi. Well, major conversations, after which we're going to be doing a breakdown of some of the key elements of that conversation. And of course, after that as well, we zoom in on the bit about Ghana, not having a top-tier league at the moment, or an active top-tier league at the moment. Why? Because Ashanti Gold are fighting their demotion from the Ghana Premier League, which is now the Betpower Premier League. All of these and more are here on the Joy Sports link on Joy 99.7 FM. And we're always glad to have your comments and your contributions. And so you'd have to join us with your comments and your contributions. Remember, the WhatsApp line is 055-1111-997. We resume the conversations after this message.
October 1st is here again. Ghana's premier five-star hotel, Labadi Beach Hotel, brings you another exciting edition of the biggest beer festival in the world.
The German one.
We have a Ghanaian version.
Okay.
So I'll be inviting you to October. Well, so let's just take a listen to that conversation between Muftau Nabila Abdullahi and Faisal Chipsa. He is a FIFA high performance trainer, and he's got loads and loads of thoughts, especially about the way we're organizing our football and what it should be, especially when we want to play at the highest level. We'll be doing a massive review of that conversation, as well as what's happening currently. It's still Arsenal 1, Tottenham 1 in the English Premier League. Thomas Partey on the score sheet after making a return from injury. A lot to talk about here on the Joy Sports link.
Hello everyone. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Muftau. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you too?
Good.
How's life going?
We're managing. We're surviving, so no complaints.
I was reading about you recently, and I noticed that over the years you've always been someone fixated with the technical side of football, right?
Yeah, I don't know. If you ask me, maybe 15 years ago, if I was going to go into that direction, yeah, I probably would have said you're mad. Because, yeah, no, it's, when I was done playing, I never thought I was going to go into administration side of football or coaching or management. I was just looking forward to my career in computer science, because that's what I graduated with in Delaware. But then after 6 months into that, I realized this is not for me. Although I love computers and I love to play around and all that, that wasn't for me. There was a big piece of me missing, which was time on the pitch, around the game, around football. And then I just got into it as a volunteer. But right away, I found that happiness back. And then I started to look at areas in the game that I can get involved in, and now here I am.
But how did you get into football in the first place?
I grew up here.
I know.
Okay, so I guess that's where the passion came from.
Okay.
And just like every other kid in Ghana. You grew up around the game.
Yeah.
You want to play the game for fun, you know, to begin with, and then you get to know you can actually make a living out of this, and still get paid while you're having fun. So you know, it comes with all the sexy stuff.
Passion plus.
Exactly, exactly. So that's where the love came from, being in the game. And I actually grew up not far from here, Teshi.
Okay.
Where I used to watch, you know, the Charles Taylors, Richard Kingston, Samir J, Eli Kingston, lots of beautiful players have come from Teshi. So I used to watch them, you know, as a ball boy, and I guess that's how everything started.
You actually started as a ball boy?
I did.
Tell us that story.
My time though, look, it was, you know, it was only the rich man's son that has the ball, and usually not the good ones. So when they're not in, that means there is no football to play. You know, so for us to actually have a chance to play, we would just go around, you know, the teams at that time that were training. So while we were serving as ball boys, there was an opportunity to actually kick a ball, or find a group of guys together, and then, you know, we get yelled at all the time because instead of us focusing on the game, we are actually doing our own thing. That's where it all started from.
Your beginning, how was it like? Not for football, but family side, because you just mentioned that those days, for you to actually have the privilege of kicking the ball, you needed to have a father or a mother who could afford one.
Yeah.
How was your beginning like? Quite humble one?
Very humble beginnings, I would say. My parents were very, very keen on education. Fortunate for me, I had an older brother, Yusuf, at that time that I could look up to. But it was clear to me that, you know, I had to focus on education, you know, and even my brother, it took some divine intervention for him to actually play football, because there were times where he would go out and play and then come back and then tell a different story, you know, until we got to a point where one of our neighbors just said to my parents, look, your son is gifted, you know, so you should allow him to play. And my dad was like, okay, if that's the case, then the only time he plays if you get your schoolwork done.
Your homework done.
You know, so that's how he started, and I just, you know, was watching the whole thing play out, and I got into it as well. And then I think the breakthrough for us, more for him, was when he was invited to the national team. Yeah. And that's when I think my parents realized, you know what, maybe we should allow him to do it. And he was very successful with it. At the same time, he was still studying. Yeah. We all had to help, because at that time, I remember when he would be at national team camp, I have to drive to KNUST, Kumasi Poly at that time, pick up his lecture notes, find a way to get it to him in Winneba at that time, the national team.
Wow.
He would come home on Friday, take his exams, go back the next day on Monday to camp. So I watched all of that. Yeah. It wasn't easy. Yeah. It wasn't easy. So, but he managed to do it, and that's when I realized, you know what, I could actually do it as well. And then I just followed the pathway. So credits to him. I think he laid the foundation and pathway for me.
In terms of the level that you wanted to get to, kicking that physical object called football, did you get it?
I think so. I think so. It was difficult, but I think so. Yeah, I think so.
But Yusuf dominates the conversation when it comes to playing the football. But you had to come into the picture. Tell us the whole story of your football career and all that.
It's not as sexy as Yusuf's career, I can tell you that. But for me, again, I started from the coast football. Yeah. You know, just like every other kid, and you just play the game because you love it. Yeah. But then I was fortunate enough, you know, throughout the course, I went to Prempeh College for my senior secondary school. Again, still played, I captained the team to the 2004 group that won.
Sounds with Capito.
The Miller Games at that time.
Okay.
And then I was very privileged that I received an athletic scholarship to go to US and study and play at the same time. At that time, I wasn't really, you know, keen on doing it. You know, I didn't think football in US at that time was big, but I also knew that was the only opportunity that my parents would allow me to play.
Yeah.
You know, so I accepted the offer, and then I moved to Tennessee. At that time, I had no clue, you know, where I was going. I was just happy to go play and study. You know, it's something I really wanted to do. Knowing very well that after graduation, I could always come back and continue to play and hopefully wear the Black Stars jersey.
Yeah.
Never really got there, to be fair.
Yeah.
Maybe I wasn't good enough, but who knows?
Or maybe you were good enough, but you were not lucky.
Maybe.
Okay.
That's very true.
Yeah.
There's tons of players that don't make it because of luck.
Yeah.
But I guess that would also give me a different direction, you know, as to how you see football. So I was fortunate. I did that for 4 years. From Tennessee, after 1 year, I moved to Delaware for my 3 years. Graduated that, enjoyed the NCAA competition, which for me was great.
Yeah.
I wish it's something we could do here, but that's a conversation for later. But really, you know, gave me the platform and opportunity to say you can combine both football and education. You know, at that time I didn't think it was possible. But then you go to environments like that, and then you realize it's possible because of the system that's been built around it. And that's only the difference, you know. If we over here, if we can just say to ourselves, it is possible, and if we actually preach that message, I think we can do it. But then I graduated, you know, with that at the computer science in Delaware. I bounced around a bit. My brother was in Sweden at that time, so I went to Sweden. I tried my luck. Nothing really was coming up for me. So then I went back to the States and then started my career in computer science. You know, as a desktop.
You actually wanted to still play the football, right? Yeah.
No, I tried. Again, it's all I wanted to do.
Yeah.
All I wanted to do was just play for Ghana, you know, just like every other kid. So I bounced around, realized, you know, maybe it's not for me.
Yeah.
You know, it's not for everybody. So then I went back, and then 6 months into my computer science career, I realized it wasn't for me.
This is not mine.
So then I reached back to my coach in Delaware and said, look, I don't think I'm enjoying this. I think I want to get back on the pitch. What do you think I can do? And then he said to me, look, you've got a computer science background. At that time, analysis was booming at that time. It was just you know, the perfect time for me. So then he offered me a volunteer position to be on his coaching staff, help out with, you know, laying out cones and being the link between the staff and the players. Then I took it upon myself to invest in performance analysis, because again, I was very good with the computers and how to manipulate that. Then I started my coaching licenses as well, just to understand football a bit much better. Than being a player. You know, it's totally different when you play the game. You always think about yourself only. But when you get to coaching and how to teach that and transfer that knowledge, you need to understand people.
Yeah.
You know, so I took my badges, I took all my performance analysis courses, started as a volunteer, no pay. 6 months in, I realized this is what I wanted to do. So I quit my job, and I went into football as a volunteer.
Wow.
Luckily enough, my wife was very supportive at that time.
Yeah.
I married very young, so you know, she understood that this is where I belong. So she held, you know, the relationship and the financial support and all of that while I quit my job into football. And then after 6 months, I got offered the full-time position as one of the assistant coaches, and that's where everything started.
That's where everything started. But do you have some disappointments because you never played for the national team?
Yes, because I always wanted to wear the jersey and stand in front of the crowd and sing the national anthem. That's all I wanted to do. But again, I realized quickly that it wasn't for everybody. If you look at, you know, the number of kids or population in Ghana, only few that would get the privilege to actually do that. I even know that more now because of what I'm doing. You know, that it was a privilege to actually play the game fresh. But you can still help, you know, grow the game, which is exactly what I'm doing now.
At what point, Faisal, did it occur to you that I could become one of the biggest technical brainers we have in football?
I don't know if I'm one of the biggest.
I'm just citing an example.
I get people tag me with that a lot, but anytime I hear that, I question myself, like, you know, is it me?
That is you. I'm talking to you.
I know. I still ask myself. Like,
you still ask yourself, but because if you take a look at people within the game, and people listen to you, people talk to you, they go like, this gentleman, his understanding of the game is on a different level.
No, I still think I've got more to learn, and I even more now after meeting Arsene Wenger, who privileged to work with.
Yeah.
He's still learning, and he says that all the time. You know, for somebody who's done everything in the game.
We learn daily, but that does not take away the fact that you are still considered one of the guys with some of the biggest brains when it comes to football within the region.
I think I'm still learning. Honestly, I'm still learning. I think for me, what I've chosen to do, and it's something that I wish Africa would do more, is to try and share more. You know, it's we don't do that a lot in this region and this continent. For some reason, people feel, you know, I know this, so I get to experience this. I want to keep it to myself, and I don't want to share. And I don't think it helps us grow. You know,
so what really motivates you?
Just to see people get the opportunity to live their dreams. You know, I was given that opportunity at a very young age, and my former boss said to me, look, you're in a very privileged environment. If you ever get to a stage where you can give back what was given to you, don't hesitate. And that's been, you know, one thing that I've always carried with me, that if you find yourself in a position to share more, or to give opportunity to kids or anybody at all for them to live their dreams and be better, don't hesitate. Don't hesitate at all. And that's how I've lived my life in football and outside football.
How important was it for you to accept that volunteer role that was handed to you by your coach?
It was a very, very tough decision to take. And the reason why I did that was I wanted to invest myself more and educate myself more in football. And my 9 to 5 at that time was really taking a lot from me. You know, there were times where the team is traveling that I can't go because I have a 9 to 5. There were times where I can't get to practices early because I have a 9 to 5. I wanted to be in the discussion about the game, and I wasn't really getting that. You know, the little time that I had was just being on the field. I enjoyed it, but I knew there was more for me to learn, and if I have to teach more, I have to learn more. You know, so I made a decision. As I mentioned, my wife at that time was very supportive. I think that was the difference maker for me, that she understood what I wanted to do and what I was willing to give up, you know, to invest myself into this. It was very difficult.
In other words, combining the two was quite a difficult thing to do.
The way I wanted to do it, it was going to be difficult. You know, I wanted to be in there at all times.
Talk to us about the journey to Charlotte FC.
It's quite interesting one.
One of the biggest stepping stones you've had?
Yeah, for sure. And it happened in the most difficult moments. I won COVID.
Yeah, it was around COVID, I remember.
Charlotte was awarded a franchise at that time. I think it was just a couple months later, and then COVID hit. So the whole world came to a standstill. And for the club, it still had to move. You know, it still had to put, you know, the pillars in place. It was a brand new club from scratch, so there were a lot to be done. And I also saw an opportunity to jump out of the college game into a much more professional environment where I could, you know, do football 24/7. I enjoyed my time in the university games at that time, but I wanted more, you know. And in the US, you really, you know, if you want to combine both, it's just not a lot. We only play about maybe 3.5 months. During the whole year, the rest is administration. So I went in an environment where I was talking about the game 24/7, you know, and you know, around that COVID time, the opportunity came for me to apply to Charlotte. I went to interviews, and I don't know what they saw, but they gave me the job.
If we cut you and take a look at your blood, I think it will be round balls, because
maybe.
The ball is in your system.
Maybe. So then I jumped on it. But before Charlotte, I also worked with the Philadelphia Union. I need to say that because they really gave me that opportunity to be in that professional academy environment in the first team, to see how things work, how to transition from youth to senior team football and what to do, how to recruit. That's when I really learned about talent identification, because it was totally different.
How do you identify talents? That's one area, because we always say you need to identify the talent. You need to identify the talent. How do we identify a talent?
It's a very, very difficult thing to do. I don't think it's easy. I don't think there is a blueprint and a formula for that. I must say that. But then it comes down to what you believe in, what your club philosophy is, and how you align that to your talent ID philosophy. Training scouts as well. But in short, I don't think there is one way to do it. But once you educate yourself in that environment, it becomes a little bit easier. At the end, you want to look at a kid now and predict the future of that kid. It's impossible to do. I don't even know what tomorrow is going to bring for me here, let alone predict the future of a kid who is 5-10 years life ahead of him. So really it's a difficult thing to do. But like I said, once you have structures and policies and much more educated in that environment, you feel comfortable to say, you know what, this kid may potentially become one of the best in the world. It's not an easy task.
If you just joined us, we are having a conversation with Faisal Chipsa, a high-performance specialist with FIFA, and he's been talking to us about his life journey. His life is basically football. I think his DNA is football. And one thing I would like to actually understand is the role high-performance specialist. What actually is that about? But we'll get there pretty soon. Faisal, tell me, if you take a look at your journey all the way to Charlotte FC, and even at Charlotte FC, you were the head of recruitment, right?
Yeah, I was head of academy recruitment,
Head of academy recruitment. And that actually meant that you had a responsibility of getting talents that will suit into the Charlotte FC model. And subsequently build a team that can compete in the LMS, right?
That is true. That is true. That was the task. And it was a difficult one. If you look at North and South Carolina, which is where the team was based, huge. I think over 50 million people we are talking about here. So to begin with, you have to understand the football landscape first. The culture of North and South Carolina as well. You also have to understand the club's vision and the club philosophy. What kind of footballers are we looking to bring on into the first team? The profile of positions. You need to understand all of that. So even though I was the head of the academy, I was also working with the first team department, because at the end, the talent we spot and find and bring into our development should be the ones that we think can compete in the first team in the MLS. So I had to help with defining the club philosophy, the model of football, the profile of players in each position, what are our talent predictors, because talent could mean anything. Somebody with height is a talent. Somebody with speed is a talent. For us, so we needed to define what talent actually means first, and that has to be shared across the club, and then the scouts that we're working with, and then the clubs around us as well, because a lot of what we do depends on their job. So when they are identified players, we can go everywhere. So it's important that we form networks all around the North and South of Carolina and beyond, so that way when they are recruiting players, they can think of what it takes to play at Charlotte. So we have to provide them with that education as well and resources, so they make our job become easier. So again, you're managing a lot of pieces when it comes to talent identification and educating a lot of people as well.
So the jigsaw was quite huge that you needed to fit in.
So I needed to understand that landscape first before I can actually go out there and talk about who
so what was the definition of talent for you in driving the Charlotte FC agenda?
So we came up with what we call talent indicators that when we go out, we look for. And that's what the club came up with. You know, every club I think should have their own, because football is not one way. It's different, however you see it. So those 5 predictors is what we would educate, you know, our scouts and clubs on that. When you are developing players or looking for players in your environment, please look out for these key, you know, qualities and characteristics here, because we have interest. You know, we look at intelligence, we look at mobility, we look at technical ability, we look at aggressiveness. And again, not to say this is what you should look for, but this is what the club came up with, because that's what we sort of think is a DNA in every player that would fit in our environment and eventually to the first team. But a lot of education has to be done in terms of scouts and coaches for them to see football the way we want to see football.
So how long did you do that?
I was in Charlotte for a year.
Yeah.
It's sad because, you know, FIFA came knocking after a year, and it was really a job that I enjoyed, because I walked into an environment where there was nothing. You know, I had to come up with a department, find scouts, hire people, come up with all this education. So really it was an opportunity for me to build something from scratch. And you know, it was going very well. I was really enjoying it, you know, putting it together.
Fun.
I did, really did. But I just didn't, you know, stay long enough to see everything come to a conclusion here. But I was happy to see that some of the kids we identified at that time have now signed for the first team. So clearly it tells me we were up to something good, you know.
So like how many players made it to the first team?
2, I think, have signed.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, one very young, a 17-year-old, who had his debut against Chelsea. So imagine a 17-year-old signed to first team
your fingerprints are already everywhere.
So I was hoping, you know, to go back and I think I'm probably going to go back someday.
You're probably gonna
someday.
I think the fans of Charlotte FC will be happy.
No, for me, I want to, because unfinished business for me. We started something really good, and I wanted to see it. You know, I wanted to be there when the first academy graduate move into the first team. Unfortunately, I've missed it, but I think there is still more to come.
At what point did FIFA come knocking?
FIFA came in. It was a very long discussion, to be fair, because I had just joined Charlotte at that time, only a year into the job, and I didn't want to leave after a year, you know, because I was given a lot to manage, and before it started something really good. So to leave in the middle of it, it just didn't feel right for me. But when FIFA comes, and you listen, and an opportunity to come back home and work in the continent, which I've always wanted to do, it was tough decision. But I think we started a discussion around towards the end of last year, I would say. That's when they came in, they flew me to Portugal, we met, we spoke. I went back to Charlotte again, you know, about 3 months before we actually decided, you know what, I want to do this. And again, credit to Charlotte, because when I went back and told them about the opportunity, they were really happy for me. You know, they said, look, this is FIFA, this is the highest governing football in the world. You have an opportunity to go back home and you know, help grow the game here. So we are sad to lose you, but we also do think this is great for you, not only you, but for your country and your continent. So you're okay to go. And that was it. You know.
I'm kind of interested in this, because if you take a look at your trajectory within the technical space of the game, where at Charlotte FC within a year FIFA comes knocking, it probably tells you that whatever you were doing, there was another person who had an eye on you.
Yeah, a lot of people.
So how did that get to the attention of FIFA, for FIFA to go like, this is the guy we need for Africa?
So before FIFA came, or before I even accepted the Charlotte job, I had applied for a job here in Ghana. I'm not going to talk about that job.
I will touch on this. I'll definitely touch on it.
I applied for a job here in Ghana.
Yes.
Didn't get it. Maybe I wasn't good enough at that time. But I spoke to a few people about it before I actually went in. But credit though, because when I was brought in for an interview, I thought it went pretty well. So that alone, said to me, you know what, you can give something. There's something there. It was too early at that time, maybe, but right around that time, I spoke to a very, very important figure. People know I'm very close to him now, in the likes of Anthony Buffalo. I think you wouldn't want me to mention his name, but
I know.
I think
I know how Tony works, so it's understandable.
But I think it's fair that I do that.
Yeah.
And we spoke a lot, and he advised me that you're still young, just continue doing what you're doing. There's going to be a big opportunity. At that time, we both didn't know it was going to be FIFA.
Actually,
and,
there's no elevator to success. You must go through the steps.
And that's one thing that Tony says a lot.
Yeah.
And that's the first thing he actually told me when we started talking. So we became very close. Yeah. I would bounce ideas off him. It would involve me in some of the stuff the PFAG is doing. So I really kept close contact with him. And then when the opportunity came for FIFA looking for somebody here on the continent, he thought of me.
Yeah.
He thought of me. So he spoke to me about it. And I said, okay, this is FIFA, I'm interested. I want to learn more, to be fair. But I'm also, I want to explore that opportunity and see how far that goes.
Yeah.
So then I sent in my CV, a bunch of others sent in theirs as well. I went through a series of interviews. It was, it wasn't like, here you go, here's a recommendation from Mr. Buffalo, so you're good to go. No, I had to go through interviews and all of that. So maybe they saw something.
Yeah.
And then everything just started from there.
Has it been fun doing the FIFA job?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah.
A FIFA high performance specialist. What does it mean?
So a lot of people ask me this question: who's a high performance specialist?
Yes, what
I think high performance really is becoming a buzzword now.
Yeah.
But if you are coming from rugby, this is, this has been there for years.
Yeah.
But in football, I think we're beginning to understand what high performance now. But really, if I could break it down to the simplest form, I would say doing the right things at the right time all the time for a long time, which is tough to do. Even in our normal lives, it's tough for us to do that. So to do that in football, really was a tough thing to do. And you can tell, the top countries and the top clubs do that very, very well, where they look at the whole ecosystem and look at areas where they can maximize, and then areas where even they're not good at, they can, find ways to improve on it. Yeah. But really combining science and data and football, much more objectivity into the game of football. Not to say subjectivity is bad, it's not, but you really have to find the balance. But once you are able to be more objective in how you make decisions and how you communicate that and teach that, I think you're really living a high performance life. On the field, off the field, even what you eat, what you say, rest, all that goes into living a high performance life. So like I mentioned, the simplest form is doing the right things at the right time all the time.
So what basically?
So my job now, again, really, this is a new program that FIFA has brought to life, where when Arsene came in as the chief of global football, he was brought in to help grow the game globally. And goal 6 of FIFA's vision now is to increase global competitiveness. So FIFA wants to get to the point where 50 countries are in a position to compete and win the World Cup. As it stands now, it's only 2 confederations. You only have UEFA and CONMEBOL that have really won the World Cup or played in the Final 4. Nobody else, in regards to other federations, have gone that far. So FIFA is also saying, okay, if that's the case, what can we do to the rest of the confederations to help everybody,
to give them equal opportunity
to compete? And that means talent development, because there is talent everywhere. But if you're not really living a high performance life or practicing high performance and giving every talent a chance in your country, then you're not maximizing your potential. So they form a small team around Arsene to work with the countries in talent development. So we look at the talent development ecosystem, national teams, coach education, academies if there is one, talent ID and development, domestic competitions. We go into the countries and analyze all those areas and then come up with some recommendations. Not what FIFA thinks, but based on what the rest of the world and the top countries have done.
Yeah.
So we did an ecosystem analysis of the 205 member associations, and then we came up with some of the best practices that the top countries have done very well.
Okay.
And I must say, you know, a lot of credit to those countries, because they could have easily said, we don't want to share this.
We don't want to share this.
You know,
And you mentioned earlier it's important to share.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, we just want to be the best in the world for a long time, so we're not open to sharing with everybody else. But all the countries agreed to do it, and they shared all the information, their practices, the system. So now we collect all that data and information. We've come up with a global report, you know, to say this is where you are as a country, and this is what the top countries are doing. So, you know, you can compare and look at areas where we can help you as the high performance specialist put together a strategy, a policy, a philosophy to help you maximize your talent in your country. So our job as high performance specialists is to work directly with these countries.
With the federations.
Exactly, with the federations, and to maximize their talent.
So you're representing Arsene Wenger in Africa?
I don't know if it's if it's the best way to put it, but I'm helping us in, you know, work in the country.
You are the brain of Arsene Wenger in Africa.
I wish. Because that's a very big brain, man. That's a very big brain.
You are the representative of Arsene Wenger.
I don't know if
it's
the best way to put it, honestly.
But who are you in Africa?
I'm just working on behalf of FIFA for Africa.
You send your report
to
FIFA.
Yeah, I do.
You visit countries in the continent, put together reports, educate them on some of the best practices.
If I say educate them, it's like I'm coming with the solutions and the answers. I don't have it. I don't have it. I'm also learning as well, but we play a role as a thinking partner.
Yeah.
Let me put it that way, because when I go into those countries, I don't go in and impose.
Yeah.
I don't go in and say this is what you have to do.
Yes.
I go in and say this is what you have based on the report that was given to you by FIFA. These are some of the things you should consider. Remember, every country is unique.
Yeah.
Because a talent in Ghana, the definition of talent here in Ghana is different from Cote d'Ivoire or Nigeria or South Africa or Tunisia or Algeria.
Yeah.
Everybody would have to define what talent means to them based on the culture and all of that. So again, we pay very, very much attention to that. But my role is to sit with the MA, the Member Association, and together find out with some of these solutions. I may not have all the answers. The ones that I do, again, I go back to FIFA, or I can reach out to other member associations that have, the answers to that. And then we'll try and compare and come up with the best of solutions. So really, we are all learning.
We learn as we move on.
Yeah.
How many countries have you visited so far?
A lot, but we're still more to come.
I know recently you were in South Africa.
Oh yeah.
You were in Sierra Leone.
Yeah.
You've been
I was
to Mauritania.
in Zambia.
You went in Zambia. Was it Zambia? Yeah.
It was Zambia. Yeah.
Mauritania as well.
Not Mauritania yet. But I'm still there's still more to come.
Yeah,
let's forget about the countries first and talk about where I've been.
The point is that I just want to appreciate the mammoth of responsibility that you have in terms of growing the game in the continent.
Yeah.
So every single member federation of FIFA, which is from the continent, you have a role of assisting them. But like you mentioned, you do not have the answers to everything. You take a look at what they have and what they can add. Yeah. So that basically means that if you go to the Ghana Football Association and take a look at their template,
choose somebody else. Don't choose Ghana Football Association. Okay. Why do you have to choose Ghana Football Association? If you go to the
South Africa Football Association, SAFA, and you tell them that based on the report FIFA has got, what you're doing so far is 35%.
Yeah.
You have a 65% more to go.
Yeah.
If you want to be able to meet the potentials and the talent you've got in this country, these are the things you would have to do. That is basically what I want to appreciate.
It's clear now.
You mentioned something. You mentioned that you applied for a job in Ghana. What was that about?
It was the technical director position at the FA at that time.
That was the time the FA had mentioned that they needed a technical director. Yeah, yeah, I recall that. And tell us what happened.
Nothing happened.
Something happened.
Nothing happened. No. To be fair,
Yeah.
again, anytime I speak about this, I always say thanks to the FA. You know, when I sent in my application, I wasn't really expecting
The job.
a job or even a callback, honestly, because I knew at that time I was still young.
But it's not.
I get it.
Yeah.
Young in the job.
Okay, you
I
were young in the
acquired
job, I
some
understand.
experience.
Yeah, I understand.
And did it. If it's now, I would say I'm much more ready
Yeah,
than I think it was 2-3 years ago.
yeah.
2-3 years ago. So, but they still gave me a call back. The president called me. We exchanged text. I went through the interviews with them, but it was a good experience for me. You know, it really opened my eye a lot. I was away for a long time too at that time, so
Yeah.
I really needed to understand the football landscape here a little bit more. When I was living, I was young, and I was away for like about 15 years,
Yeah.
so a lot has changed at that time. So I needed to understand that side too, to be fair. But in terms of how everything played out, for me it was a big experience. I learned a lot, and I say again thanks to the FA, because I wasn't really expecting a call back at that time, because that's a huge job, man.
Yeah.
That's a huge job, and I
Yeah.
knew there was going to be tons of people that want to work for the Ghana Football
Yeah.
Association. So, but to be fair, again, that also gave me a bit of I don't know what word to use here, but after that process, I realized that you can do more. You know, there's really something special you can do. So for them to reach out to me for an interview, I started taking this more seriously now.
There's one thing I really want to understand. In as much as you felt that you were still really young within the space, you believed that this was something that you could do. Yes. And shortly afterwards, you went to Charlotte FC.
Yeah.
That clearly tells us that. That clearly tells us
exactly.
That,
that's why
there's probably something within you that the panel you met did not see, but the people who set up.
I wasn't good enough. That's what it is.
That's quite subjective.
Yeah.
Good enough is subjective, because what you might say is not good enough. It's
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
better for someone. So, disappointed you didn't get a job?
No, I wasn't. I wasn't disappointed at all. Like I said, when I threw my name in the hat there, I wasn't really expecting anything. But this is Ghana Football Association. To be the technical director for Ghana Football Association, it's a massive job. Massive job.
To be a FIFA high performance specialist for Africa, it's a much bigger job.
Okay. Now, okay, I get it. But
Yeah.
I'm saying at that time, it's a massive job.
Yeah.
A massive job. And to be even considered for that role,
Yeah.
for me, it was more than I expected.
Again, I'm still not satisfied.
I know what you want, but you're not going to get it. I know exactly what you want, but I think
So-
this is enough for the public.
What would Faisal had brought to the football space in Ghana if you were given the role of a technical director?
Very, very good question. At that time, I felt we needed a bit of structure, needed a bit of discipline,
Yeah.
bit of direction as well. And we needed somebody just to lead, football in the country.
Yeah.
And that was the thing that I was hoping to bring. You know, I've seen structure, I've worked in structures. I've been in the youth development, so I understand the youth. I know the opportunities that are out there. I understand the culture because I'm from Ghana. I grew up here, so I lived through the coast system and all that.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I was really looking forward to bring is the discipline in terms of manning a technical directorate there. And again, when you travel around Africa now, you realize what African is not so much of the technicalities of the game, but really it's just the discipline to do the right things all the time, okay, every single time for a long time.
Yeah.
That really is where I think Africa is lacking.
What are the right things?
The right things is just when you put up a structure that you may have an idea of, you may not, but there are, you know, avenues out there where you can learn all this. Like if you're the TD and you go to FIFA right now and say, I need a structure put in place to identify talent all across Congo, Ghana, and put them in an environment for them to grow to the senior team, FIFA would help with that. Okay? FIFA would give you all that help. But then when FIFA gives you that help, it's up to you to come back here and see to the implementation. What is right, what has to be done, who are the people that, you know, we need to put in positions with the right qualification and competence. That's where the high performance life comes in, you know, because if you're not really motivated, it's easy to just, you know, plug in things that may not be right. And that's where we're lacking.
Based on what you've witnessed so far, you didn't get a job, someone else got a job, but based on what you've witnessed so far, are there more things that we need to work on?
Of course, yeah. And this is not just Ghana, this is everywhere. Even the top European countries will still tell you there's more to do. So there is always room to improve, for sure. But again, you know, of course there's more to do here, let me put it that way.
Tell us, in terms of percentage, and based on the FIFA Global Report, in terms of percentage, where is Ghana?
I can't speak about that.
No, it's not.
No, seriously, I can't. It's very confidential. I
really understand that. I really understand that. But I want to have an idea about how much of work that Ghana must do.
I don't think you even need the reports. You can look. You've been in the game for a long time.
Yeah.
If I ask you right now, a kid in your village.
Yes.
What's your village?
Do.
Where is that at?
It's in the northeast region.
Northeast region. Okay. Do you think a kid up there has the same opportunity as a kid in Accra?
No.
When it comes to, you know, finding.
In fact, growing up, I did not have the opportunities like case of Accra.
Okay.
Because I grew up from there.
Yeah. So until we get to a stage where we can see a clear pathway, and say, you know, every kid, regardless of where he or she is born in the country, has the same opportunity as the ones here, then there is more work to be done.
Is that actually what FIFA wants?
That's what FIFA wants. That's not what alone FIFA wants, but I think that's what every country should do. You know, and don't forget, when the quality of football at the World Cup is improving.
Abdullah of Joy Sports and FIFA high performance trainer Faisal Chipsa, brother of Yusuf Chipsa. Both of them find themselves doing a lot in terms of the administrative side of football.
Very interesting.
Very
interesting to have. Sometimes you would have them, all of them in the game proper. I mean, playing on the field and all that. But this time, you have two brothers administratively doing something for the game, and it's good. I mean, these are the things you want to hear of. I mean, see all the time. Particularly when, in the case of Chipsa, I mean, who played to some reasonable level, and is giving back to the game, or is doing something else with the game.
Jerome, Faisal Chipsa spoke about structures. And I mean, you look at what we've done now, the kind of template that we're running now, and you'd want to say that, okay, well, we probably may be making a certain level of effort, or we still are lacking behind structure-wise.
I think we are making efforts, only that they are not enough. But I would take this than have nothing at all.
Okay.
Because it's like building. You start from the foundation, you lay one brick or one block, and then you build on that. I see it to be that way. But there are some fine things he said, which I don't know, but I think the FA is getting onto something like that. I mean, making sure that people in the game are properly educated, well equipped with the knowledge to drive the development of the game. Because you see, without that, there isn't much we can do. You need to have people who understand what they are doing and can also match up to the standard elsewhere. So, for instance, if you take the various programs the FA has been having for coaches, recently I saw one involving is it the video guys? I mean, the guys who work with video analysis, using that to analyze team performance and all that. These are things that I think some 5-10 years ago you wouldn't have seen Ghana or Ghanaian coaches or Ghanaians involved in it here. But now we have it here. So it is the way to go. You need to build capacity, teach people, open their eyes to new trends in the game, and see how they can also contribute to the game's development. Without that, if we leave it to talent, no, he has the skill, he can play, and that's it. We are never going to get to the top.
That's why, you know, this situation with this unexpected break in the Betpower Premier League becomes very worrisome, in the sense that we saw the build-up to this season where some clubs, the likes of Swatreman, the likes of Samatex, you know, showing what we regularly would not expect of Division 1 clubs.
Yeah.
You know?
It is because I always say, if you want the game to change, check the kind of people who are running the game. Because you cannot give what you don't have. You are going to give to the game what is in you. So if what is in you is not anything modern, it's not anything that has the capacity to change the way the game is run, then we are going to be stuck to the old ways of doing things. So if you find Samatex doing something new, or doing something that, we rightly put it, it's not usually seen of teams that have qualified for the Premier League, I mean, particularly their first time. What it tells you is that they have people who probably are seeing things differently, who probably know that the way we've done things, I mean, it's not the best, so it ought to be changed. And mention of Samatex, somebody like Edmond Aka has been in football for a very long time. There isn't anything new you will teach him. So he knows, and he would be able to tell that we've done things this way, perhaps it didn't work, let's try it this way. And I haven't been to Samatex before. I mean, their venue, for example, I've not been there before, but I've seen pictures of the kind of work they are doing there. And even some of our Premier League clubs
don't have these structures,
and
this
the
kind of
envy.
Infrastructure. Yeah.
So we cannot leave our game in the hands of just anybody. It is one thing that I personally will not stop saying it. You need to have people with the requisite knowledge and experience to drive our local game in terms of development. If we don't get people who know what they are doing and are ready to stand by what they know and prosecute that agenda, I mean, development will not come. All those guys who are, I mean, today we will call them advanced. They didn't sit there. I mean, they were not just there and things happened. They studied, they worked, they believed in their ideas, and they executed whatever plans they had. And I believe it's the same way we have to go. Sometimes you would say it is very slow here. I mean, a lot of the things we do here are probably outmoded. But I would choose the situation where we have people coming in with new ideas and determined to work than be stuck at one place and not moving at all.
Now, it is also heartwarming to note that in terms of those who are moving and shaking when it comes to you know, FIFA's relevance, we have our people in there, and you know, Faisal Chipsa is a classic example.
Yeah. So I mean, with him, for instance, the important thing will be how we tap into his knowledge and experience. How, for instance, we pay attention to the kind of things they say, whether or not what they are saying is relevant to our cause. If it is, you bring it home. I mean, not necessarily giving him a job or making him a part of the team or something, but you can always consult. You can always learn behind the scenes and use whatever you learn to change the state of affairs. When he was talking about, and I'm not one of the interviews, I think the one I watched, he was talking about the fact that he applied to be a technical director and he didn't have it and all that. Maybe the timing wasn't right, or maybe the people felt that he wasn't the right man for the job at that time. But today he's somewhere else, playing roles that if we didn't give him the opportunity to play those roles here, those roles there are also very relevant, very important. It's still never late to, not late to get to him and see what we can learn from his experiences. I've been listening to him on several other media platforms, and he's a brilliant chap, brilliant guy. A lot of the times he brings some sober thoughts to conversations on the Black Stars, for example. So you can tell that this is someone who knows what he's about, and then a lot of the things he says too are relevant. It is up to us to, get to such people and learn from their experiences.
Now, would look at our scenario, our situation. Ahead of the start of the Ghana Premier League, which is now the Bet Power Premier League, we were all excited in the sense that for the very first time in a very, very long time, we have a sponsor for all three major leagues, the Premier League itself, the Women's Premier League, and the Division 1 League. Fast forward, there's a situation which was not fully dealt with, which at the time of Congress was not seen as a threat.
As a threat, yeah.
And today it has come back to bite all of us and would have to wait.
Yeah, very unfortunate. Unfortunate in the sense that the feeling was that maybe for once we had broken away from that situation or that era where anything Ghana Premier League or anything Ghana football will end up in the court, and it will stifle growth, progress. People didn't know what was happening, when we were going to start and all that. I think for the first time, we had some decent organization. I, for instance, wrote, and Muftar was always teasing me that don't be too hopeful. Maybe he was right, because I kept saying that this season, for instance, the preparation toward the start of the season for me is one of the best I have seen.
You look at the capacity building for all the referees and all. Yeah,
it's one of the best I have seen, because I saw the FA's program. They virtually stuck to everything in terms of timelines, everything they planned to do, and then went about it decently. Then the league starts, and 3 match days, everything comes to a halt. I won't say an end, but everything is suspended. I have said that if we were going to come to this point, like start the competition, excitement is built to some point, teams are gathering momentum, and fans are coming on board to cheer their teams, then all of a sudden it is suspended. If we knew this was the point we were coming to, then we probably shouldn't have started. It would have been wiser or even good to have the FA deal with those ash gold matters, to its logical conclusion, to the fullest point. Then, knowing very well that the issues have been dealt with, we go into the season. What we have now, if you are a sponsor, definitely you'll be concerned. I don't know what Bet Power is thinking. I don't know what the other stakeholders like StarTimes, for example, is thinking. But definitely this is not something any of them will be happy with. I'm not sure it is an issue they will even want to make public, but then they would have something going through their minds that, was it good even coming on board? Was it appropriate? The timing and all that, So it will be helpful if the FA, now that the issue is in court, we all have to be careful what we say.
Exactly.
But then I would anticipate the situation where we would have some sanity in the next few weeks. Even if not sanity, let's be clear what's ahead, because now we don't know. It's very likely, the case will be called on the 14th of October, this month, and then there's another postponement. Or the issues are not dealt with completely. We would have to wait again. And if it drags beyond, let's say, middle or third week of October, it means we are going into November. And in November, once the World Cup starts, per the FA's own program, the league will come to a break. We'll break for the World Cup. And that will mean coming back second, third week of December, which definitely will take us to next year. So let's just hope that whatever the issues are, I mean, they will be argued out very well in court. The judges, I mean, they are human beings. Much as they would want to stick to the law and make sure the right things are done, they will also look at the situation of our football and see where to place matters. So, I mean, all things being equal, we can have our game back as we would wish.
We hope so too. I want us to spare some moments for the situation in our clubs.
Yeah.
Now, you're getting a big sigh of relief because you know there's a certain level of financial cushion that is coming in as a result of headline sponsorship. 3 games into the Premier League season, there is a halt. Now, some of the clubs are camping players, and they're incurring all sorts of costs, overhead costs, as a result of that. Because obviously there is no much activity, and you'd have to take care of these players as well. I don't know, like you said, we all don't know how long it will last, and they'll have to pay salaries as well.
Of course, it's
for no work done.
You know,
maybe
in situations like this, it's a very difficult moment for the clubs. Yesterday, I saw training pictures of Kotoko, for example, and where I saw those pictures, it was on a WhatsApp platform, and somebody asked, "What are they training for?" You know, they are training. I mean, we don't know when we're going to play. At least until October 14th, we don't know when we're going to play. But then the team was training. That is cost. I mean, you would think that because the league is on break, I mean suspended, you would think that teams don't have to train. But if they don't train, how do they keep their teams in shape? The players are going to go rusty if they stay home 2 weeks without training. And this is cost. And what makes the cost a big deal is that you have no clear vision or clear sight of when I'm going to have matches played, so that if not for anything, let's say we play and get something from the gates, you know. So it's a very difficult situation for our clubs, and it is not one thing that anybody will be happy with. I mean, I have not spoken to any club administrator yet, but I definitely know that these are going to be tough times for them. The next few weeks will be tough times for them, because it's not just the players they pay, they also have administrative staff. And you know, the situation of our clubs is such that not many of them have, I mean, or not all of them have sponsors that have taken care of, I mean, are taking care of certain things. And even if they have sponsors, the sponsors expect that matches are played, so that if it is the match venues that they come to advertise on your billboards or stuff like that, they will get the necessary mileage or the kind of interest, whatever interest they have will be served. Here is the case. In the next few weeks, the league will not be played. So how will those interests be served? You know, so it's going to be a very difficult situation for them. And as I said earlier, we will hope that in the coming weeks, when the case is called, we will have some definite conclusions and have the game back. Otherwise, I don't want to think of those scenarios, but it is something that is staring at us. If the case is not resolved by the middle of October, or by the 3rd, or let's say even end of October, and we go into November with the league, I mean, start or restart of the league still not certain, definitely we'll be thinking of something after the World Cup, and that's going to be a big problem for the clubs.
If you just joined us, this is the Joy Sports Link on Joy 99.7 FM, and we're live with Jerome Otchere, who's a senior editor and a football pundit as well. He's a columnist and is bringing his perspective on the issues of the suspension of the Ghana Premier League due to some legal matters, case brought to the courts by Ashanti Gold, who have been demoted and also had their president and their CEO also suspended fully. So these are all issues that are hovering around a successful or a smooth run for our Ghana Premier League. Now, if you've been part of this conversation from the start, if you just joined us, remember our WhatsApp line is 055 11 11 997. 055 11 11 997. Very, very simple, isn't it? rhymes a little bit as well. 055-1111-997. Join us with your thoughts as we look at this and how the clubs can get themselves weaned off all the anxiety that comes with breaks such as these. And of course, it just reminds you of that period when COVID-19 broke heavily and we had to deal with them, and all of these clubs just had to sit idle.
Yeah, and you know, that was COVID. It was worldwide, or it was all over the place. So you would say even that was more natural than this one. This one appears to be self-inflicted, or something that has happened as a result of our inability to manage certain things well, you know. And it is localized. It's just us, I mean, those of us in the Ghana Premier League, and not anywhere else. So it differs a little from COVID, but I understand the point about the implications, you know. It's important we understand that if there are things we need to do to serve the interest of key stakeholders of the game, if we don't do them, we are going to come back and get them done some way, somehow. I have always maintained, in fact, I have maintained a position that I like order and discipline in our game. There must be order and discipline in our game, whether we like it or not. We need that atmosphere to ensure growth. Where there is indiscipline or there is disorder, you can't grow. So I like what the FA did with the kind of sanctions or discipline they meted out to Ash Gold. But then if Ashanti Gold feels that justice was not done, or justice was not done properly, then they are entitled to, making sure that the right things are done. And that's up to them. My only point is that if we were going to come to this point, and I think I've made that already, if we're going to come to this point of suspending the league because of the issues, then it would have been proper to deal with those issues before starting the competition. You know, but sometimes you won't have your wishes. So issues come and we must deal with them and move on.
Issues come and we must deal with them, indeed. Words of Jerome Otchere, who's here with me in the studio. Now, let's do this message from Prosper Dominion in Dakuman. He says, Otto Addo is not fit to handle the Black Stars. Earlier, the Black Stars management took a wise decision. It will be better for us all. The earlier they take a decision, it will be better for us all. They should learn from the management of Hearts of Oak. Okay, so tell us what exactly,
he's talking about Samabwedu there.
Okay, and of course, Samabwedu bidding farewell to Accra Hearts of Oak during the week. Yeah,
I think it was expected. To be honest with you, Boadu's dismissal was always going to come. I even feel that if they wanted to do it, they would have. Then they should have done it last season. You know, waiting to start the league. I don't know whether they were waiting to see how things will go, but this didn't come as a surprise to me. From last season, I knew Boadu was going to be sacked, not because of anything, but the performance of the team. Fan reaction, commentaries by some managers of the team and all that pointed to the fact that some of them were not satisfied, or they were not enthused with the way things were going. And this season, 3 matches, it's not been the best for Hearts of Oak. Some even take it way back into last season to say that he's not won it in about 7 games or so. And you know, Hearts and Kotoko, when things are not going right, the first point of call, will be putting the head of the coach on the table and chop it off, and that's what they have done.
All right, so let's zoom in on the Black Stars conversation before we wrap it up here on the show. Remember, 055-1111-997 is the text line. 055-1111-997. In a bit, we'll also activate the phone line so that you can join us with your thoughts on these subjects. Now, Thomas Partey has contributed to what is now a 3-1 win, and what Arsenal will consider one of maybe the 5 most important games of their season, considering the kind of weight of opposition, beating Tottenham Hotspurs by 3-1. Now, it obviously must be relief for many a Ghanaian fan, especially considering the time of the year we're in and the kind of build-up we're doing towards the World Cup.
Of course. And when I heard that he has scored, I mean, in this, was it this morning or this afternoon's game, first thing I asked was he really injured?
That reminds me of the classic Michael Essien case where,
I mean, not to say anything bad, but if he was, then we like the recovery, you know, because he could not feature in our matches because of injury, and he returns to England and first game, and the goal is a great one. I saw it. I mean, I saw it in one of the videos, and it's good for us. You know, we would love to see some of our top players do this as we prepare for the World Cup. It gives some hope that with their presence, and the goal he scored today, brilliant one, long drive, and it was in there. Opportunities like that, you never know, will drop in our matches. I mean, in Qatar, and Pate will take or make good use of them. You know, so it's good. It's good, and Inaki also scored. So, I mean, these guys, they should be giving us this so that when the World Cup starts proper, we will see them replicating the kind of stuff they are doing for their clubs.
What is the what would you like to say to the conversations about you know, about having a final select side for the last friendly? Would you advise for it? Would you still advise against it? The other day I was asking someone, okay, tell me if you feel we still should be inviting players at this point.
Well, that's up to the coaches to decide. But from where I sit, I would go with what they say. Otoado said that, is it 60-70% of the squad, I mean, 70% of the squad were up for the friendly matches. I mean, those who came, 70% of them were there.
I see.
Yeah, that's what he said. I don't know who else they would want to call, but then that is why we wanted to see something like a photocopy of what will happen at the World Cup in terms of parading the best. What we did, in my view, wasn't it doesn't give me the exact picture of things. You know, it was still patchy. So against Switzerland, maybe he would try that, but then we would see whether or not the players will also give the kind of performance we would expect, because it will be very close to the World Cup, and I'm not sure any of them would want to risk.
0302-216-541, 0302-216-541, 0302-216-541. And now with a series of impressive innovations to suit the once every 4 years football fan, the Kia Seltos is the highest vehicle in terms of capability to drive you confidently to wherever inspiration takes you. This year, the inspiration is taking you to Qatar. Now, with the purchase of any Kia, you get the chance to win one of 10 full package trips to the FIFA World Cup in 2022. Whatever kind of fan you are, there is a Kia for you. Just visit the showrooms in Accra, Tema, Spintex, Kumasi, Takrady, and also call 0249 111 444. Okay, so 0249 111 444 for more information. And remember, this promo is proudly supported by Adidas, Coca-Cola, Qatar Airways, Caveman, and running on the Caritas lottery platform. Terms and conditions apply. Kia, movement that inspires. 0302-216-541. 0302-216-541. Let's get on the phone lines and speak to our first caller. Hello, good afternoon.
Hello, Nat. Good afternoon. I hope you're doing well.
I'm great. What about you?
Yeah, I'm also doing wonderful. This is Hajima Joseph from tonight.
Please go ahead, Ajman.
Yeah, I think it's rather unfortunate that our team, the Black Stars, is not ready for the World Cup.
You think so?
Yes, because though we have the players, we have good players, but the time that we are gathering them to get the momentum, the cohesion, the togetherness is a problem. You see, for now, we are not having a team.
I'd want you to also tell me something. I mean, you're talking about the time we're using to gather them for the World Cup. The teams around the world are doing the same. They are using the same amount of time.
I understand you to some points, but Brazil, for instance, are having a solid team.
Okay, it's because they've been together for a while. They've had consistent systems and all.
Yes. You know, is it a team that played against Nigeria that you were able to qualify over them?
Yeah.
I mean, they got to know each other for some time. Now you need to fix in some new players who need to gather themselves, understand themselves for some time.
Yeah.
And now look at the time. And now I can tell you for a fact, the coach is not getting us the players, the first 11, the second 11. This is my problem. If we can gather ourselves within some short time, then we can play better football. We can make it because we have good players. But the timing is what I'm thinking of.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ajman Joseph, thank you very much. 0302216541. It becomes a little worrying when you hear comments that do not repose enough confidence, or it probably is just the reality that we must just accept and move.
It's the reality, and we just have to accept. I keep saying that. Look, you are there to do a job. Just keep to your job. People are going to talk anyway. Whether you sleep, you walk, or you run, people will talk. Keep your focus on the job and do it to the best of your ability. In terms of the timing, we are not going to have time to try any more players. We are not going to have time to even get the boys to play, as he was saying.
Yeah, because Jerome, I was having a conversation earlier this morning, and I was raising the same point about how time is not available anymore because of the relative formats of the World Football Calendar and all of that. It's not available anymore.
but for the fact that this World Cup is in the Gulf, it's in Qatar. We would have played the World Cup and ended by now, because the World Cup is played in June, July, every 4 years. It is because of the venue where it is now. That's why it's been shifted to November. So there is no space. There's no time anywhere to have players, especially national team players, camp and play as a unit or train, so to get that unified force the last caller was speaking of. So we just have to make do with the situation we have on our hands and see what we can get out of it.
See what we can get out of it, indeed. Well, we've got time to squeeze in a phone call or two. So remember, 0302 0302. Okay, I think I have a call on the line. Hello, good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon.
How are you?
Good.
Thanks for joining us.
Nice one. My problem is you are playing trial matches, and then you have players on the bench. This is the opportunity for them to play for you to see their capabilities. And you kept them on the bench until when it is 90 minutes, 2 minutes, 3 minutes to close, then you brought them in. What sense does it make? I don't get it. The coach, they should talk to him.
All right. The coach must be talked to.
These are real fan sentiments, because I even said here that playing Brazil was great. It was good enough. We should have had our first team. If Otto didn't give us a good impression of the team, what to expect?
Okay.
That's why people are saying the kind of things we are hearing.
My final caller. Hello, last
Hello, Nat.
caller. Hello, good afternoon.
Yeah, Nat, afternoon.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, my worry is Ghanaians we talk too much.
Okay.
We have given the coach a job. Allow the man to do the job. They have been training together. That doesn't mean that he cannot put all the sets on the pitch. So they should allow the man to do his job. We all think to ourselves to be coaches and secretaries. Why? Oh. You don't boast him like that, though.
Yeah.
You don't boast him like that. You give the person the job. If you know how to do it, go into it. Oh, simple.
Well, I appreciate the passion. Yeah. And another very important point that has been raised by the caller. The bit about the patience, the lack of patience. If Brazil are getting ready for the World Cup and they are not pulling their weight, maybe, but we are in transition. But we don't seem to understand and appreciate that we are a team in transition.
That's true. And I've always made that point. Even recently on one of your networks, I did say that we are refusing to admit that we are not the Black Stars we used to be. And even in those times when we thought we were the best on the continent, we didn't win anything. 40 years and counting, we've not won the AFCON. So what are we talking about when we make it look like we are one of the powerhouses of African. I mean, of African football. We are not even in the top 10 African football nations as we speak now. We are not part of it. So we should understand that we've come down. We need some more time, some more work to be done, serious work to be done, to get back to that form that we previously had, or we previously, I mean, exhibited.
The Black Galaxy are also, you know, in actually they have a chance to go and salvage a first-time trophy from the Chan. There's a draw happening. And yes, there's a draw happening later today. We'll get to know who our opponents for the tournament are.
And we'll have the opportunity, like you said, to write a different script. You know, we've not been to the last 3 Chans. We are going to be at this one in Algeria next year. We just hope that this time we can do something better than we did previously. Previously, we were in the finals, you know, and we couldn't win. So now that we are back into the competition, let's see where CAF will place us, and then the preparation will get underway to see whether we can annex the trophy in Algeria next year.
We're wrapping up this conversation in the next minute and a half. Andre Ayew, the captain of the side, is one who's always come up for conversation. There are those who, out of passion and out of fanaticism, would say, oh, it's time to let him take a seat. It's time to drop he and his brother and all of that. But in recent times, we've heard him make some very strong statements. One of them being the fact that he wants to achieve something with the Black Stars.
I hope it goes well for him at the World Cup. It's going to be very tough because I sincerely do not think that will be one of the teams to watch out for in terms of who will win the World Cup. But, I mean, Dede has given a lot to the Black Stars, a lot to this country in terms of football. And I would wish that he gets into some good performance and deliver for us. But there's a lot of work to be done.
A lot of work to be done indeed. And this is how we'll wrap it up here on the Joy Sports Link this afternoon. Thank you so much. Do remember that tomorrow we'll bring you some more action on the Joy Sports Arena with Musbah Razak of Joy Sports right here. And also do remember that there are loads of programs we're sharing with you, especially as we build up to the FIFA World Cup. Next Friday, we'll bring you another quiz, another Qatari Quest quiz, where there are interesting prizes to win from our sponsors, NASCO. And so you have a wonderful time. I'd say thank you to the whole Joy Sports team, the whole Joy Sports team for production support, the core team here who have been supporting. And you have a wonderful weekend. Do make sure to also catch the EMY Africa Awards. I'll be hosting, you know, later on the Joy Prime channel this evening. So thank you all so much. Keep it here. The Joy Headline News at 2 is up next with Mame Nyameche Thompson. Thanks to Mr. Jerome Otchere and the whole production team. My name is Nathaniel Atto, and I have